right up until this one, really, Evan Spiegel and other executives were kind of downplaying the potential impacts. And so I think the slowdown really came as a surprise to many people. And I also think we really haven't seen the full impact yet. So we might actually see Snapchat start to change its tune on this too.
Hey gang, it's Wednesday, November 3rd. Jasmine and listeners, welcome to the Behind the Numbers Daily, an eMarketer podcast made possible by Tenuity. I'm Marcus. Today I'm joined by our senior analyst covering global trends. It's Jasmine Enberg.
Hey Marcus, hey everyone.
Hello there. Today's fact, you can see 4 states from the top of Chicago's Willis Tower, which I've been told will forever be the Sears Tower. Before the Chicago people get upset with me, I know it's the Sears one. But you can see 4 states from the top of it, apparently. So from the sky deck of the Sears Willis Tower, which is 1.3 thousand feet above the ground, you can see 4 different states on a clear day. Illinois, of course. And then, guesses from the audience. I'll give you a second to think about it. Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Jasmine. Were you going to guess?
Absolutely
okay,
not.
Indiana.
I was going to say, I hope you don't ask me to guess because I have no idea.
Okay. Indiana, Wisconsin, and Michigan. You can also see up to 5 states from the top of Mount Greylock in Massachusetts. You can see New York, Vermont, Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts, of course. But there is a place where you can see more states than that. Jasmine, how many states do you think you can see total from one place in America?
Can I just give a wild guess?
Of course, they're the best kind.
I'm going to go with 7.
Oh my goodness, you've been there.
I have not.
It's 7. Yeah, that's incredible. The place where you can view the most states at once is Lookout Mountain, aptly named, in Georgia. The edge of Lookout Mountain, so it's already in Georgia, and it's half a mile from Chattanooga in Tennessee. So that's 2. Georgia, Tennessee. You can also see Alabama, 25 miles away, North Carolina, 50 miles away, Kentucky and Virginia, 120 miles away, and South Carolina at 80 miles away. It has to be a very clear day, and binoculars would help. The 2 best places, in case you're going to Lookout Mountain, would be Rock City, using their stationary binoculars to look out into the horizon, or you can visit Point Park and look off the Ox Observatory. We are not sponsored by this park at all, but it sounds a lot like they've given us money to say that. Anyway, today's real topic is Snapchat's Q3 earnings. Jasmine, we're talking about Snapchat today, their Q3 earnings. The format for this, we've shaken it up a bit, and in Q3 and probably going forward, we're doing the earnings a little different. So we're going through users and revenue, which we've always done, but the format is I'll ask you a question and then say blank, and you'll fill in the blank and then explain why. It will make sense in a second. We'll start with the user highlights. Snapchat's daily active users crossed the 300 million mark for the first time, reaching 306. Snapchat added 13 million users in Q3. The same number added in Q2. Better than the 11 million they added, slightly better than the 11 million they added last Q3. North America added 1 million new users, Europe added 2, and the rest of world added 10 million new users. Jasmine, the user growth figures this quarter for Snapchat were blank.
The user growth figures were strong.
They were strong.
They were strong. It's still growing at a double-digit rate. Most of the growth is coming from the rest of the world, but we're also seeing an expansion in daily active users in its core market in the US. It's good news.
Mm-hmm. The most interesting user figures for this quarter were blank.
I'm going to go with the total user number. It's a milestone. They passed 300 million for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. So, yeah, 13 million this quarter, 13 million the previous, and then going backwards, 15, 16, 11. So it's been strong double digits each quarter for the last year at least. Yeah, one of the numbers that jumped out to me, user figure-wise, was the share of users coming from North America falling. So in the last year, the share of users coming from North America has fallen from 36% to 31%. Europe's user share has also fallen from 29% to 26%, and the rest of the world has gained as a result. That share has gone up from 35 to 42. Snapchat pointed to strong growth coming out of India. So yeah, if that number keeps going up, you'll start to see over half the users coming from the rest of the world, in the next year and a half, maybe 2, which I thought was interesting. Their user growth figures for the quarter, Jasmine, let's throw a grade on it.
Not this again.
For those people listening, Jasmine is not only hates to grade, but she's not great at it.
I'll admit
She's
it.
too generous.
I'll admit it. I know. I just want to give everyone an A. But
Come on, you got this.
Okay, I'm gonna give it Snapchat an A. Am I allowed?
Okay.
Is that okay?
I mean, who knows whether it's genuine or not? You're probably going to get it anyway, Snapchat. Congratulations. And A. Revenue highlights. Let's go to those. Snapchat crossed the $1 billion revenue mark for the first time in a quarter, closing in on $1.1 billion in Q3. That's up 57% year on year, even better than last Q3's 52%. North America revenue, which accounts for 3/4 of all of Snapchat's money. North America revenue accounted for 3/4 of all of Snapchat's money, was up 60%, 60, beating last Q3. Jasmine, the revenue growth figures this quarter for Snapchat were blank.
They were pretty good. I mean, Snap hit another major milestone in total revenue, but it really didn't do as well as it could have because of the changes from Apple's privacy update. I think what was really interesting here is that in previous earnings calls and right up until this one, really, Evan Spiegel and other executives were kind of downplaying the potential impacts. And so I think the slowdown really came as a surprise to many people. And I also think we really haven't seen the full impact yet. So we might actually see Snapchat start to change its tune on this too.
Yeah, that 57% growth missed the lower end of its own guidance. You would have thought 57 was pretty good. They clocked 116% growth in Q2, obviously coming off that lower base from Q2 2020. But still, 57% is the lowest growth they've seen in each of the last 4 quarters. So sounds good, but not good in comparison to some of the other growth figures that they've been posting. The most interesting revenue figure this quarter was blank.
I think it'll be the total revenue figure again. I mean, like I said, it was another milestone. This was kind of a quarter of milestones, really, for Snapchat.
Yep. All right. It's grade time. It's probably an A, Snapchat. Let's be real.
This hurts me, and it's really hard for me to say. But I'm going to go with a B.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah.
B for brutal. All right. So that gives you a combined A-, a B+, Snapchat, not bad at all. Any other highlights, Jasmine? The other most interesting part of their earnings for you was blank.
Yeah, I can give you another figure that really stood out to me, and that's that Snap said that it had more than 200 million people engaging with AR on a daily basis on its platform. I've been thinking a lot about AR recently. I'm writing a report on AR and social commerce. And Snapchat is, of course, the social network that really put AR in the map. But now it's really become a cornerstone of its business, and it'll be the backbone of its social commerce ambitions, too. So this was super interesting to see.
Yeah. Q4. We estimate that Snapchat, I guess Q4 in the future, we estimate that Snapchat will have 87 million monthly users by the end of 2021. That's good enough for 1/3 of all smartphone users being on Snapchat. But that number is flat going forwards, that 87 million folks. Jasmine, we have 77% of Snapchat users under the age of 35, and that won't change in years to come. That's all we've got time for the lead story. It's time now for the halftime report. Jasmine, takeaway from the first half. What have you got?
I'm going to go back to that AR figure and just say that Snap sort of entered the social scene by trying to differentiate itself from Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And now it's kind of taking the same approach to social commerce by putting augmented reality first. I actually agree with Snap that it's probably its biggest growth opportunity right now. And it really should keep focusing on building out those capabilities because that's what will set it apart in the social commerce space too.
All right, that's it for the lead story. Time now for In Other News. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, Tenuity. It's time to stop thinking about brand and performance separately. The funnel has collapsed. Brand and performance are now one. With top-notch marketing, you can go from awareness to click in a few seconds. That means you can sell as you brand and brand as you sell. Rethink performance with Tenuity, the largest independent performance marketing firm across streaming TV and the triopoly of Google, Facebook, and Amazon. Find out how at rethinkperformance.com. All right, folks, we are back. It's time now for In Other News. Today, where do people like to follow their favorite brands on social? And how concerned is Instagram about losing young people? Story 1, when it comes to following their favorite brands, consumers prefer Pinterest, TikTok, and Twitter. Snapchat and Reddit came in 4th and 5th. According to a survey from R.R. Donnelly and Sons, writes senior tech writer at Chain Store Age, Dan Batum. Other findings included, number 1, people aren't really using Snapchat to discover brands. Apparently, 21% of marketers said consumers use Snapchat to discover new brands, while just 7% of consumers agreed. Number 2, influencers aren't as powerful as we might think. 82% of marketers believe influencers will drive consumer purchases. Just 26% of people agreed. And number 3, word of mouth is a big deal. 2 parts to that. 1, 28% of people said word of mouth is the preferred way to learn about a new brand, product, or service, beating social media, TV, and digital ads. 4% of marketers thought so. And also word of mouth outranked all other forms of brand discovery, 55%, and reasons for buying something, 40%, yet just 7% of marketers thought word of mouth was a channel that results in consumer purchases. Jasmine, your thoughts on some of this research?
I don't think any of it was particularly surprising. I think what was a little bit concerning was the disconnect between what marketers say and what consumers say. But I always think about these surveys too with the caveat that what people say and how they behave, particularly on social media, tend to be two very, very different things.
Yeah, that's very fair. Story 2. Instagram has been concerned about losing young people for a while now, according to internal Facebook documents obtained by the New York Times. A strategy memo from last October reads, quote, "If we lose the teen foothold in the US, we lose the pipeline," close quote. Facebook's hope appears to have been that Instagram would encourage more young people to all of its apps, slowing Facebook's aging user base, according to the documents. As the New York Times piece notes, Facebook has since abandoned plans to be a teen destination. Jasmine, your thoughts on Instagram's concern about losing young people?
Look, I think the big takeaway for me here is that young people's attention is divided and they are extremely fickle. And all of these platforms, not just Instagram and Facebook, should understand that they either currently have a so-called young person problem or could eventually have a young person problem.
Yeah.
Snapchat is
inevitable.
Clearly still attractive to teenagers, but we'll see. Things could change.
Yeah. I think the word cool is the only thing that doesn't have a young person problem. It'll always be cool. It will always be a word that people say. Words come and go, brands, companies, products, but the word cool will live on. You
mean literally the word cool?
Yeah. It's always, it doesn't go out of fashion. It's just cool. Maybe it went out of fashion a long time ago and people are like, Marcus, no one says that anymore.
I think you might be right, actually.
Okay. Yeah. That's the only thing I think that can actually transcend generations. It's like Madonna. It's just always cool. It's just always fashionable.
This should be your next fact for the podcast.
The word cool?
Mm-hmm. I want to know more about it.
I don't know if it's a fact, though. It sounds a lot like an opinion. But I'll do some.
But where did it come from?
Homework.
When did we start using it?
Where did it come from? Why were we talking about that the whole show? Snapchat. Anyway, 2 things really quickly. I will check that out for my next fact. 2 things really quickly for you. One is that they might have a bit of a young person problem. A 2021 Piper Sandler survey found that 35% of teenagers said Snapchat was their favorite social media platform. 30% said TikTok, and 22% in third place said Instagram. Also, teen time spent on Instagram also dipped, according to the documents, because teens spent 3 to 4 hours per day on the platform. It's nearly double what adults spend on it, so it will pull down the average if the teenagers leave. However, some positive news. Insider Intelligence notes that we have Gen Z as the second largest generation on Instagram, behind millennials. By 2025, they will nearly be the largest. 52% of Gen Z internet users are on Instagram. By 2025, 70% of Gen Z internet users will be on Instagram. And yeah, Jasmine, if anything, Instagram has a boomer and a Gen X problem because both those generations are going to lose users over the next few years. That's all we've got time for this episode. Thank you, Jasmine, for hanging out.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, thank you to Victoria. She edits the show. Thanks to everyone listening in. We'll see you tomorrow for the Behind the Numbers Daily, an eMarketer podcast made possible by Tenuity.
One day, Marcus, you'll give me a podcast to be on, and I'm going to give an F.
Will you?
I don't know.
What would you even be grading to give an F?
I don't know. I don't think it's possible for me.